You won't believe which Hollywood legend topped Paul Newman's private blacklist. The man with those dazzling blue eyes, the Oscar-winning icon known for his cool charm, epic performances and generosity. Yes, that Paul Newman kept a secret list of actors he absolutely couldn't stand working with. It wasn't public. It wasn't petty. It was personal. Now imagine this, you're Paul Newman. You're decades into your career. You've starred in some of the most iconic films of all time. You've raced cars competitively. You've donated hundreds of millions to charity. But behind that easygoing smile, you're still human, and some actors, no matter how famous, no matter how talented, drove you up the wall. Quietly, privately, Paul made a list. A list of 7 actors who tested his patience like no others. Today we're revealing that list, and why these 7 major stars got on his nerves. And trust me, some of these names will shock you. Let's start at number 7, Tom Cruise. Now, on paper this one's surprising. Newman and Cruise starred together in The Color of Money back in 1986. It was the film that finally earned Newman his first competitive Oscar after decades of nominations. Cruise was the hot, up-and-coming star. Newman was the seasoned legend. So what went wrong? Well, Newman respected talent, and Cruise had plenty. But Paul also valued humility, quiet confidence, and professionalism without the showboating. Cruise, in contrast, brought big energy, big ego, and a whole lot of hero worship. He was bouncing off the walls, trying to impress Newman, constantly telling reporters how much he was learning from the veteran actor. And Paul? He hated the spotlight, being treated like a branding opportunity. After one exhausting press day, Newman reportedly joked to Martin Scorsese, "If that kid says how much he learned from me one more time while interrupting me to talk about his abs, I might throw him out a window." Now, number 6, Charlton Heston. Unlike Cruise, Newman never actually worked with Heston, but that didn't stop him from making the list. What? Politics. Newman was a staunch liberal. Heston, not so much. As Newman got more politically active, especially during the Vietnam War era, Heston went the other way, eventually becoming president of the NRA. For Paul, Heston wasn't just someone with different views. He was someone using his fame to push causes Newman found dangerous. He felt Heston was reckless, especially with how much influence he had. There's a story from the 1960s where both men ended up in the same restaurant during a heated campaign season. Heston was supporting pro-war candidates. Newman was fighting against them. Newman reportedly refused to even look in his direction. He once said, "Some people confuse having played great men with being great men." Everyone knew who he meant. At number 5, Frank Sinatra. This one's a clash of work ethics. Newman and Sinatra worked together briefly on the 1980 disaster flick When Time Ran Out. And it left a very bad taste in Paul's mouth. What? Sinatra was old school, meaning he showed up, did 1 or 2 takes, if that, and left. He didn't study scripts. He didn't rehearse. For someone like Newman, who approached acting like a craft and prepared meticulously for every scene, Sinatra's approach was maddening. There was one day Sinatra showed up 3 hours late. Newman didn't blow up, but he told Sinatra, calmly but firmly, that his behavior was disrespectful to the cast and crew. They didn't speak for the rest of the production. Later, when asked about Sinatra, Paul's only public comment was, "Frank has a lovely singing voice." Brutal. Coming in at number 4, Marlon Brando. Now this might seem strange because Brando and Newman were considered acting royalty, giants of their generation. They never acted together, but early in Newman's career he was often called the next Brando. You'd think that would be a compliment. Newman didn't see it that way. He admired Brando's early work. Who didn't? But what really got to him was watching Brando, one of the most gifted actors alive, waste that talent. Brando got increasingly lazy over the years, relying on cue cards, barely preparing, and treating entire productions like an afterthought. For someone like Newman, who believed every role was a responsibility, this was unforgivable. His longtime friend Robert Redford once said, "Paul told me watching Brando in his later years was like watching someone burn a Picasso for heat." You can feel the disappointment in that line. Newman believed that if you were lucky enough to have that kind of talent, you had a duty to show up, put in the work, and respect your collaborators. Now number 3, Steve McQueen. Here's where things really get spicy. Newman and McQueen finally shared the screen in The Towering Inferno, 2 action icons in one movie. But behind the scenes, it was a disaster. McQueen was obsessed with equality, not in the good way. He demanded equal pay, equal lines, even equal stairs to climb during action sequences. The man literally counted dialogue lines. He also forced the studio to place his name first in the credits, but not above Newman's. They were side by side at the same level. Total ego match. Newman, on the other hand, just wanted to do good work. He found McQueen's micromanaging exhausting. As he said later, "Some actors see every film as a competition. I always saw it as a collaboration. Those two approaches don't mix well." The director later confirmed Newman was deeply frustrated by McQueen's constant one-upmanship. Still, Newman kept it professional on set, just never worked with McQueen again. Number 2, John Wayne. Now this was personal and political. Newman and Wayne were opposite ends of the Hollywood spectrum. Wayne was Mr. America, loud, conservative, patriotic to the point of propaganda. Newman was liberal, anti-war, and believed actors had a responsibility to speak out for change. During the Vietnam War, Wayne's film The Green Berets was seen by Newman as pure military propaganda. Wayne in return called Newman and other activists unpatriotic. It wasn't just politics, it was about purpose. Newman thought Wayne used his platform irresponsibly. And he didn't see much range in Wayne's acting either. He once told a reporter, "John Wayne plays John Wayne in every movie." Again, ouch. When Wayne won an Oscar for True Grit, a role that many felt wasn't a stretch, Newman was reportedly frustrated. Not bitter, just disappointed that Hollywood rewarded persona over process. But here it is. The big one. The number one actor Paul Newman couldn't stand working with? Robert Redford. I know. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The Sting. Their chemistry was legendary. They were best friends, right? Well, yes and no. Newman and Redford did like each other. But working with Redford? That was another story. Redford had one fatal flaw in Newman's eyes. He was always late. Newman was never late. Ever. He showed up at 5 a.m. if he had to. Memorized lines. Fully prepared. Redford? Showed up when he felt like it. And to make matters worse, he'd knock out a scene in one take and nail it. Which only made Newman more irritated. It didn't seem fair. On the set of The Sting, the crew actually gave Newman a custom-made clock where every number was replaced with Redford's face, because it was always Redford o'clock. Legendary. Newman reportedly once said, "The worst thing about this kid is he can show up 3 hours late and still be better in one take than most actors are in a week. It's infuriating." But the truth is, they respected each other deeply. Redford, when told about Newman's secret list, laughed and said, "I'm honored I annoyed him that much. If he still worked with me despite it, that's the best review I could get." So what does this all mean? At first glance, yeah, it might seem like juicy gossip. 7 Hollywood legends who rubbed another legend the wrong way. But look a little deeper and you'll see something more meaningful. Paul Newman's list wasn't just about ego clashes or political disagreements. It was about standards. He wasn't looking for perfection, just effort, respect, professionalism, and maybe, above all, humility. Newman treated acting like a craft, not a competition. He believed the audience deserved your best, that the crew deserved your full attention, and that fame came with responsibility. When someone treated acting like it was just about money or status, it really bothered him. That's what this list represents. Not bitterness, not anger, but a man taking stock of his life, acknowledging the things that mattered to him, and the people who didn't live up to those values. And even then, Newman never let it affect his professionalism. He worked with crews. He starred with Redford. He stayed polite with Sinatra. He might have been privately frustrated, but he never let that show on set. As one director put it, he gave everyone the same respect and attention, no matter what he felt behind the scenes. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. Even legends have limits. But what sets the greats apart, like Paul Newman, is how they handle those limits. So now I gotta ask, were you surprised by any of the names on that list? Who shocked you the most? Drop a comment below, we're dying to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the untold truths of Hollywood icons, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. We've got plenty more stories coming, stories that reveal the real people behind the red carpets. Because even in the world of lights, cameras, and carefully crafted smiles, sometimes the most revealing things are said when the cameras aren't rolling. See you next time.